We look up at the night sky and we imagine life. We picture green forests, blue oceans, and creatures that perhaps look a little bit like us. We default to the comfortable, the familiar. We assume that for life to exist, a planet must be a second Earth, a Goldilocks world where the porridge is just right, the water is liquid, and the wind is a gentle breeze. But the universe is not comfortable. It is violent, chaotic, and incredibly creative. In the last 2 decades, our telescopes have pierced the veil of the cosmos to reveal thousands of exoplanets, and what we found shattered our expectations. We have found worlds made of diamond, worlds where it rains glass sideways at the speed of sound, and worlds bathed in the radiation of undead stars. If biology on Earth has taught us anything, it is that life is stubborn. We find life in boiling acid springs, in the crushing dark of the Mariana Trench, and inside the cooling towers of nuclear reactors. If life can survive here, amidst our relatively mild extremes, what kind of nightmares might have evolved out there? Today, we are going solely into the extreme. We are traveling to 10 planets with environments so hostile, so bizarre, and so violent that any life surviving there would not look like a biological organism. It would look like a monster. We are going to speculatively reconstruct the cosmic beasts that could call these hellscapes home. If you enjoy exploring the darkest corners of the universe and speculating on the impossible, please hit that subscribe button right now. Join our expedition into the unknown and turn on notifications because the universe is far stranger than you can imagine. 1. HD 189733b, The Shredding Storms. Our first stop is a deceptive beauty. From space, HD 189733b looks like a stunning, deep azure marble, reminiscent of Earth's oceans. But do not be fooled. This color does not come from water. It comes from terror. This is a hot Jupiter, a gas giant orbiting incredibly close to its star. The atmosphere is silicate-rich. The clouds are not made of water vapor. They are made of glass particles. The planet is tidally locked to its star, creating a temperature differential that drives winds at 5,400 miles per hour, 7 times the speed of sound. On this world, it literally rains glass, sideways, at hypersonic speeds. To stand outside on this world is to be sandblasted into oblivion in milliseconds. In such a shredding environment, soft tissue is a death sentence. Evolution would need to discard the concept of skin entirely. We can imagine a creature here known as the silicate glider. This organism would not look like a bird, but rather like a living, biological fighter jet. Its outer shell would need to be a biological armor made of secreted, hardened lattice crystals, perhaps mimicking the very glass that bombards it. It would effectively be a creature made of bulletproof ceramic. Because the winds are so powerful, the glider would never land. It would live its entire life on the wing, surfing the Mach 7 slipstreams. To feed, it wouldn't hunt in the traditional sense. It would possess a gaping, filtration maw lined with diamond-hard baleen. As it glides at hypersonic speeds, it swallows the glass rain. Its digestive system would be a biological fusion reactor, extracting trace minerals and silicon from the glass shards to continuously reinforce its own ablative armor. These creatures would be blind. Eyes are a liability in a glass storm, where a single particle could pierce a retina. Instead, they would navigate using acute pressure sensors along their wings, feeling the microscopic shifts in the wind current to avoid collisions. They live, breed, and die in the slipstream, an eternal, armored storm of living shrapnel. 2. 55 Cancri A, The Diamond Hellscape. We move from the storm to a world of opulence and agony. 55 Cancri A is a super-Earth, twice as wide and 8 times as massive as our home. It orbits so close to its star that a year lasts only 18 hours. The surface temperature is nearly 4,900 degrees Fahrenheit. But the geology is the true horror. This planet is carbon-rich. The interior pressure is so intense that the planet's mantle is believed to be made of pure diamond. Life here cannot be carbon-based in the watery, organic sense we know. DNA would unravel, proteins would denature instantly. We are looking at an ecosystem based on silicon or exotic carbon crystallography. The environment is a chaotic mix of flowing lava rivers and solid diamond cliffs. In this crushing heat and gravity, life would be slow, heavy, and practically indestructible. Meet the crystalline golem. This creature would not have muscles. Biological muscle fibers would incinerate. Instead, it would utilize piezoelectricity, generating movement through electrical charges within its crystal structure. It would resemble a jagged, moving boulder, blending perfectly into the diamond landscape to avoid detection. Feeding on this world would be a process of thermal absorption. These creatures would likely be migratory, moving between the scorching day side and the cooler twilight zone. On the day side, the golem would spread purely reflective, solar panel-like wings to absorb the searing heat of the star, storing it in a molten core within their bodies. When they become too hot, approaching a meltdown point, they migrate to the twilight zone to radiate heat. Predation here would be terrifyingly silent. A predator on 55 Concrete A would likely use sonic resonance. It would emit a focused frequency that shatters the crystal structure of the golem, turning the victim into dust, which the predator then absorbs to build its own mass. It is a glittering, sparkling world of slow-motion cannibalism. 3. Kepler 22b, the infinite ocean. Kepler 22b is the archetype of a water world. It is a super-Earth located in the habitable zone, but unlike Earth, it is likely covered entirely by a global ocean hundreds of miles deep. There is no land, no islands, just an infinite horizon of water. On Earth, the deep ocean is limited by the seafloor. On Kepler 22b, the ocean is so deep that at the bottom, the immense pressure turns the water into ice 7, a strange form of hot, solid ice. Without gravity-constrained land to limit size, and with a nutrient-rich global ocean, gigantism would be the norm. The biology here would scale up to sizes impossible on Earth. We can speculate the existence of the abyssal leviathan. This is not a whale, it is a city-sized organism. It could span miles in length, a slow-moving organic fortress. Because light cannot penetrate the depths of a 100-mile-deep ocean, this creature would not rely on sight. Instead, it would be covered in millions of bioluminescent nodes, creating its own constellation to attract prey in the eternal darkness. Its primary sense would be a hyper-advanced form of echolocation, capable of generating sonic blasts powerful enough to stun prey miles away, a biological sonar cannon. But the most terrifying aspect of the Leviathan is its reproduction. In an endless ocean, finding a mate is statistically impossible. These leviathans might be asexual colonies, massive floating hives of millions of smaller organisms working together as one massive intelligence. If you were to dive into Kepler 22b, you wouldn't just be swimming with monsters. You would be swimming inside the water that constitutes the monster's hunting ground. 4. Gliese 436b, the paradox of burning ice. This planet defies the laws of physics as we understand them intuitively. Gliese 436b is about the size of Neptune. It is incredibly close to its star, with temperatures exceeding 800 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet, it is covered in ice. How is this possible? The immense gravity of the planet compresses the water so tightly that it remains solid even at scorching temperatures. It creates a state of matter known as Ice X. The planet is wrapped in a cloud of hydrogen evaporating into space, creating a comet-like tail. This is a world of thermal paradox. The ground is solid ice that burns you to the touch. The atmosphere is a choking fog of superheated steam. Life here would need to exist on the border between the solid hot ice and the gaseous atmosphere. We envision the thermal borer. This organism would function like a high-temperature worm. It would possess a superheated chemical proboscis, capable of melting a tunnel through the ice X. The borer lives inside the ice for protection against the star's radiation, moving by flash melting the ice in front of it and excreting the refrozen water behind it. It feeds on the chemical energy trapped within the exotic ice lattice. Predators on this world would be steam stalkers, creatures that wait at the surface of the ice tunnels. When a borer breaches the surface to vent excess heat, the stalker strikes, snatching it from its tunnel. It is a game of whack-a-mole played at 800 degrees in a sauna of crushing gravity. 5. WASP 12b, the planet of Vantablack. WASP 12b is a planet that is actively dying. It orbits so close to its star that it is being ripped apart, stretched into an egg shape by tidal forces. The planet is being consumed by its parent star. But the most terrifying feature is its color. It has an albedo of almost 0. It captures at least 90% of the light that hits it. It is darker than fresh asphalt. It is a pitch-black world. This is a high-gravity, high-heat, zero visibility environment. The atmosphere is filled with vaporized metals. Life here faces two threats: being cooked by the heat and being crushed by the atmospheric pressure. On a world that absorbs light, camouflage means being blacker than black. The shadow phantom would be composed of biological materials similar to Vantablack, absorbing all radiation that hits it. You would not see this monster. You would only see a void where the stars disappear, because the planet is being physically stretched by the star's gravity. The gravitational pull fluctuates wildly depending on where you are on the surface. These creatures would need to be amorphous, capable of shifting their internal structure from solid to liquid to cope with the tidal stretching. They would not have bones, which would snap under the stress. Instead, they would be held together by magnetic fields generated by metallic iron in their blood. They feed on heat gradients, latching onto the hottest updrafts of the planet's dying atmosphere, sucking the energy out of the storms. They are the thermal parasites of a dying world. 6. PSR B1.57 plus 12c, the graveyard world. This planet, nicknamed Poltergeist, Ion, orbits a pulsar. A pulsar is the rotating corpse of a massive star, a neutron star that sweeps the solar system with beams of intense radiation like a lighthouse from hell. This is a graveyard system. The planet is bathed in constant lethal X-rays and gamma rays that would shred human DNA in nanoseconds. Life here must be radiotrophic. It must feed on radiation. The environment is sterile, dry, and glowing with ionization. The dominant life form, the lead-shelled scavenger, would look more like a tank than an animal. Its exoskeleton would be fortified with heavy metals, lead and tungsten, harvested from the planet's surface to shield its delicate internal organs. These creatures would not hide from the radiation. They would sunbathe in the pulsar beams. They would have gamma sails on their backs, panels of biological tissue designed to capture high-energy particles and convert them into chemical energy. However, the pulsar beams are periodic. When the beam sweeps away, the planet plunges into freezing darkness. These creatures would enter a state of immediate cryptobiosis, hibernation, freezing solid in seconds, only to reanimate when the lighthouse of death sweeps over them again. They are the undead of the cosmos, eternally dying and resurrecting with the pulse of the star. 7. Proxima Centauri b, the eternal twilight. Proxima b is the closest exoplanet to Earth, orbiting a red dwarf. It is tidally locked. One side faces the star forever, a scorching desert. The other side faces the void forever, a frozen wasteland. Life can only exist in the Terminator line, the thin strip of eternal twilight between day and night. This twilight zone is a place of perpetual sunset. The sun never rises, never sets. It sits on the horizon forever. The winds here would be fierce, driven by the hot air from the dayside rushing to the cold night side. In a world of static light, shadows never move. This creates the perfect environment for the chromatic ambusher. This predator would have evolved perfectly flat, ribbon-like bodies to minimize wind resistance. Its vision would be shifted entirely into the infrared spectrum. It hunts by seeing the heat signatures of prey against the cold background of the dark side. But its true terror is its camouflage. Since the sun angle never changes, it doesn't need to change color quickly like a chameleon. Instead, it grows moss-like biological structures on its back that perfectly match the static shadows of the rocks. It waits for centuries, motionless, for prey to wander from the safe zone into the shadow. It is a trap made of biology, perfectly adapted to a frozen moment in time. 8. Kepler 1649c, the Super Venus. This planet is Earth-sized and in the habitable zone, receiving 75% of the light Earth does. However, models suggest it could be a super Venus, a world with a runaway greenhouse effect, a thick, crushing atmosphere, and surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead. The surface is a no-go zone for biology. But at an altitude of 30 miles, the pressure and temperature drop to Earth-like levels. This creates an ecosystem in the sky. Life here never touches the ground. The atmospheric grazers are massive, gas-filled biodirigibles. They are living balloons, filled with lighter-than-air hydrogen generated by their digestion. They float in the upper cloud decks, feeding on chemosynthetic bacteria that thrive in the chemical clouds. They would have long, dangling tendrils, like jellyfish, that dip down into the hotter, lower layers to scoop up heavier minerals needed for their biology. The predators here would be cloud sharks, sleek, aerodynamic hunters that puncture the gas bladders of the grazers. The horror of this ecosystem is not being eaten. It is the fall. When a grazer is popped, it plummets out of the habitable zone into the crushing, incinerating hell of the surface below. 9. Ogle 2005 BLG 390LB, the frozen statue world. This planet has the nickname Hoth. It orbits a red dwarf at a great distance. The surface temperature is minus 364 degrees Fahrenheit, 220 Celsius. It is colder than liquid nitrogen. Chemical reactions at this temperature are agonizingly slow. Conventional biology is impossible. But if we speculate on silicon methane biology, where methane is liquid and acts as water, a strange form of life emerges. Life here operates on a different timescale. The slow-motion colossus is a creature that might take 10 years to take a single step. To a human observer, it would look like a statue. Its blood is liquid methane. Its bones are silicon. It doesn't have a heartbeat. It has a slow chemical pulse that occurs once an hour. It feeds on the piezoelectric energy of the shifting ice. Because its metabolism is so slow, it lives for hundreds of thousands of years. Intelligence here would be glacial. If these creatures communicate, a single sentence might take a generation to speak. It is a world of silent, frozen, thinking statues that outlive civilizations. 10. TRAPPIST-1e, the interplanetary infection. The TRAPPIST-1 system is extraordinary. 7 planets crammed close together. TRAPPIST-1e is the most Earth-like, but likely an eyeball planet, tidally locked, but with an ocean. The most striking feature is the sky. The other planets in the system are so close that they loom large, like moons. This proximity allows for panspermia, life jumping from planet to planet via asteroid impacts. This ecosystem might not be limited to the planet. We speculate the existence of the hive. These are spore-based organisms that have evolved to survive the vacuum of space for short periods. On the surface of TRAPPIST-1e, they form massive fungal towers, reaching miles into the atmosphere to release spores. These spores are caught by the upper atmospheric winds and, during close planetary approaches, can drift across the gravity well to the neighboring planets. The monster here is the infection itself. It is an aggressive, invasive ecosystem that consumes the biosphere of one planet, builds launch towers, and infects the next. It is a solar system scale virus. If you landed on TRAPPIST-1e, you wouldn't be fighting a beast. You would be breathing in the seeds of a conqueror. The 10 worlds we visited today are based on real data. The planets exist, the temperatures, the gravity, the winds, they are real. The monsters we populated them with are speculative, but they are based on the one truth we know about nature. Life adapts. If nature can forge a creature that lives in the crushing dark of Earth's oceans, or a bacteria that survives in the vacuum of space, then the monsters of our imagination are likely pale shadows of the reality waiting for us in the stars. We look for Earth 2.0 because we want to find a mirror. We want to find something safe. But the universe is not a mirror. It is a canvas of infinite, terrifying creativity. Somewhere out there, right now, under a black sun, a creature made of glass is hunting in a storm of diamonds, and it is waiting to be discovered. Which of these planetary hellscapes do you think is most likely to host life? And what kind of monster would you design to survive there? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into speculative biology, please share this video. The algorithm may fear the unknown, but we do not. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next deep dive.